Hello, my name is Carla Musso. I chose Ecuador as my case study country. I chose it because I was born there, in Guayaquil, Ecuador, and I lived there until I was 12 years old. I moved to the United States shortly after that to live here with my family. Two important facts I want to highlight are the national symbol of Ecuador is Andean condor. The national colors are yellow, blue, and red, as you can see in the flag of Ecuador, like I showed you here. First, I want to talk about the geography of Ecuador. The first map to your left is a South American map. You can see Ecuador in the green small highlighted part against the other South American countries. It borders the Pacific Ocean at the equator. It is also between Colombia and Peru. Ecuador is in the western part of South America. The second map to your right is a clearer look at the cities and provinces that consist in Ecuador. It also shows you that Ecuador has the Galapagos Islands. I'm going to talk a little on the climate, terrain, natural resources, and the natural hazards that Ecuador faces. First, the climate. Along the coast, it is very tropical. The terrain is coastal plain, la costa for us. At higher elevations, it becomes cooler inland. The terrain is inter-Andean Central Highlands, or La Sierra for us. In the Amazonian jungle lowlands, it is tropical, and the terrain is flat to rolling in the eastern jungle. Natural resources are petroleum, which the economy is mainly based on. It also based on fish, timber, and hydropower. Natural hazards are volcanic activity, which is a large issue in Ecuador, given that we have many volcanoes that threaten communities' way of life. There are also frequent earthquakes happening more now in Ecuador, as you can see in the news. There are landslides, floods, and periodic droughts. Some of the floods that happen in Ecuador are made by the Ecuadorian communities too. I want to touch on a brief overview of Ecuador. The current president is Lenin Moreno. He's affiliated with the Alianza País movement. The population is 16,498,500 and something. The life expectancy is about 77.1 years. Ecuador is a presidential republic, and I will go into further details in a second. Now, I want to talk about the history of Ecuador. Ecuador used to form part of the Northern Incan Empire, which I didn't really know much about until I was doing research about Ecuador. The Spanish came to Ecuador in the 16th century. Their conquest of Ecuador happened in 1533. From the beginning, Quito has always been the capital of Ecuador, and it is to this day. It was under the control of Spanish colonial government in 1563. The territories under that control were Colombia, Venezuela, and Quito. These territories gained independence between 1819 and 1822. This independence formed a federation named Gran Colombia. However, Quito withdrew in 1833 and became how it is known now as the Republic of the Equator, Republic of Ecuador, but we call it Ecuador for short. Now, the topics I want to touch base on is politics and economy. It wasn't until late 2008 that voters approved a new constitution. It has gone into more than 10 amendments from when it was first established back then in history. There has been a lot of political turmoil with how the previous president of Ecuador left the country in. President Rafael Correa was the previous president that left Ecuador in a recession. For the new president, Lenin Moreno, to deal with as he came into presidency now. He was a left-wing populist, Rafael Correa was. He wanted the country free from the orbit of the United States. His economic policies generated economic uncertainty and discouraged private investment. He used to give anti-imperialist speeches and all against the United States to sever ties from there on. The economy of Ecuador is based on petroleum resources. The Moreno's administration is now trying to revive the economy with public referendum and economic and political issues, as it's trying to solve those ties with the United States now. They're also trying to reduce corruption within their own political party and strengthen the democracy in the United States. Now I will go into depth about Ecuador's relationship with the United States and China. Before Rafael Correa, the U.S. has always had good relations with Ecuador and was its major lender for its economy. However, as soon as Rafael Correa took the presidency of Ecuador, that changed dramatically. In 2008, he refused to renew a lease that allowed American anti-narcotics surveillance flights to operate from an Ecuadorian Air Force base. This was changed under Moreno's presidency. He spoke vehemently against the Western financial institutions and denounced the International Monetary Fund, apparently because they put restrictions on his spending, which makes sense given that the money that was being loaned to Ecuador, the president wasn't taking care of. In 2008, he defaulted on $3.2 billion of his country's foreign debt. Thus came the invitation to China to fill in the breached terms on Chinese loans, which were from the large state-owned lender, the Chinese Export-Import Bank. However, this bank has high interest rates and came with requirements. One of them was the use of Chinese companies in construction. China then became Ecuador's largest foreign lender since 2008. 77.7% of the Ecuador's bilateral debt is to China. Now with Lenin Moreno, he's trying to salvage relations with the United States to try to repay back that debt. China's main interest is in Ecuador's oil. Therefore, in 2009, China lent $1 billion, and their payment is in oil shipments to their state oil company PetroChina, which they then sell at larger interest. Thank you very much.